Q Review Print Speaking to the Blind, celebrating 40 years of audio newspaper production. Welcome to this week's edition of the Herald Scotland podcast, recorded at the Bishop Briggs Media Centre by our amazing volunteers. You can get in touch with us via Facebook, Twitter or Instagram using @CuneReview, that is @ CUEANDREVIEW. You can also contact us directly by emailing information@cunereview.com. That is INFORMATION @CUEANDREVIEW.com, or by calling 0141 772 3976. That's 0141 772 3976.
This is from the Herald Scotland on Thursday the 25th of July from the news section. City hotels awarded prestigious environmental certification. This article is written by Craig Williams. Two famous city hotels are celebrating after both were awarded prestigious environmental certification. Glasgow hotels Voco Grand Central and Kimpton Blytheswood Square have been awarded Green Key certification, an internationally recognised accolade, highlighting the hotel's commitment to the environment. Green Key certification is a mark of excellence in the tourism industry, awarded to establishments that adhere to strict criteria set by the Foundation for Environmental Education, FEE. IHG Hotels and Resorts, which owns both hotels, said that achieving Green Key status means Voco Grand Central and Kimpton Blytheswood Square Hotel are dedicated to minimising environmental impact and promoting sustainable tourism. Located in the heart of Glasgow, Voco Grand Central has plant-based, vegan-friendly ingredients in its refillable bathroom amenities, energy-efficient lighting, comprehensive recycling programs, and water conservation measures like filtered and refillable glass bottles. The hotel bedding is made from 100% recycled materials. Voco Grand Central is also working with Trees for Life to plant trees at a protected site in the Highlands. The hotel has pledged to plant one tree for every delegate attending corporate events hosted at the hotel. Meanwhile, Kimpton Blytheswood Square's flagship restaurant is committed to sourcing ingredients from local suppliers who demonstrate sustainable practices, like hand-dived or creel-caught shellfish, and fish which is line-caught and sourced in waters where there is a healthy supply of fresh produce. Furthermore, the hotel donates £1 from every bill to the Firth of Forth Lobster Hatchery, who hatch, rear and release lobsters to help maintain a healthy lobster population in the Scottish waters. IASG only uses MSC certified suppliers who have a traceable supply chain and is committed to revisiting and investigating ways to reduce waste and enhance its sustainability credentials. The hotel also promotes green transport options by offering rental bikes in the lobby so guests can explore Glasgow by pedal power. Marcello Ventinisi, Cluster General Manager for Kimpton Blytheswood Square and Voco Grand Central, said, "We are incredibly proud to have achieved the prestigious Green Key certification. The Eco-Label certification sets rigorous standards and requires clear demonstration of sustainable excellence to be achieved. This accomplishment reflects our ongoing commitment to sustainability and our dedication to creating positive environmental and social impacts." That article was written by Craig Williams. This is from the Herald Scotland on Thursday the 25th of July from the news section. Edinburgh factory shut down by activists in protest over Gaza. This article is written by Gabriel Mackay. Protesters have shut down a factory in Edinburgh in protest at the ongoing war in Gaza. The Leonardo plant in the capital has been targeted due to its components being used on the F-35 fighter jet, as well as the Apache attack helicopter. The company produces laser targeting systems for Lockheed Martin, which sells the jets to Israel. The Israeli Air Force has ordered a total of 75 F-35s, with 39 delivered as of July 2023, and also deploys Apache helicopters. Last November, Israeli military spokesman Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari confirmed that the jets are used in Gaza, saying in a briefing, F-35 jets strike terror targets and assist ground forces in very close proximity strikes. The protesters argue that by continuing to supply military equipment to Israel, both the arms companies themselves and the UK government, which grants licences to sell them, are complicit in any potential crimes by the state. Last week, the UN's highest court ruled Israel's presence in the occupied Palestinian territories is unlawful and called on it to end, and for settlement construction to stop immediately. There is also an ongoing case before the International Court of Justice, brought by South Africa, accusing the country of committing genocide in Gaza, something it denies. The court issued provisional measures in January which stopped short of ordering a ceasefire, and in May ordered Israel to stop its offensive on Rafah, pointing to the immediate risk to the Palestinian people. Jack, one of the protesters taking part in today's action, said, "Over the last 10 months, the images coming out of Gaza have exposed the indiscriminate slaughter and cruelty being unleashed by Israel on Palestinian civilians. No one can pretend not to know the extent of Israel's war crimes. It is therefore utterly unconscionable that our government continues to hand over arms to Israel. It has always been morally repugnant, but now it is also clear that these arms sales mean the UK government is in breach of its own obligations under international law. That is why we're here today, because we will not allow weapons built on our doorstep to be used to massacre Palestinians, and for as long as our government refuses to act, we will be forced to." Rosemary, a teacher from Edinburgh, said, "I couldn't stand by any more and watch Israel commit a genocide with weapons made in our own city. As people who live in Scotland, whose friends and neighbours work at this factory, we have a responsibility to put pressure on arms manufacturers to comply with international law. Every day that I see Scottish children playing happily in Edinburgh, I think of the thousands of children in Gaza who will never get to. It isn't a faraway problem, it's right here, in our city, under the auspices of our own government." A Police Scotsman spokesperson said, "We were called around 5:25 a.m. on Wednesday the 24th of July to a report of protest at a premises on Crewe Road North and Ferry Road in Edinburgh. Officers attended. There were no arrests and the protest has concluded. Leonardo GB have been contacted for comment." That article was written by Gabriel Mackay. This is from the Herald Scotland on Thursday the 25th of July, from the news section. Government told how to save lives by changing prostate cancer rules. This article is written by Mark McDougall. Prostate Cancer UK have issued the government with a plan to deliver on a manifesto pledge to save lives through earlier diagnoses and to root out racial and regional health inequalities. They believe it can be done in just a year, and their solution is largely to change outdated NHS guidelines so that GPs can proactively speak to men who are most at risk of getting prostate cancer. They could then tell them about the higher risk and give them the choice of a free PSA blood test, and it has been backed up by a top Scottish expert on the disease. Jamin Batt is a consultant urological surgeon at the Queen Elizabeth University Hospital in Glasgow. Along with other leading prostate cancer clinicians, they have published the latest PSA Consensus, which is a paper in the British Journal of General Practice that supports changes that would see healthcare professionals initiating these potentially life-saving conversations with the men at highest risk. Members of the public have also been calling for change, and during the recent general election, Prostate Cancer UK supporters from across the UK emailed almost 3,000 prospective parliamentary candidates and asking them to push for the NHS guidelines to be reformed if they were elected to Parliament. Prostate cancer often has no symptoms in its earlier stage when the illness is more treatable, and it's crucial that men know about their risk of getting the disease and think about the option of getting a PSA blood test, even if they feel healthy and have no issues. In the current system, the men who are most likely to get prostate cancer, including black men and men with a family history of the disease, aren't told about their higher risk by GPs. Right now, it's up to each individual man to find out their risk and ask for a test themselves. In Scotland, more than 1 in 3 men are diagnosed with the disease at stage 4, while only 53% of men get a diagnosis early, which falls significantly short of the NHS's target of 75%. Prostate Cancer UK estimates that updating the NHS guidance and implementing plans for raising awareness could be delivered in just a year. Jamin Batt said, "As a urologist with a specialist interest in prostate cancer, I am aware of the issues facing delayed diagnosis for men at higher risk of prostate cancer, such as ethnicity or family history. There is also quite a wide variation in men's awareness about being able to access the PSA test via their GP after the age of 50 years for all men, or indeed from 45 years onwards for higher risk categories, possibly based on socio-economic demographic reasons. That's why I'm proud to be part of this group that has brought together some of the top minds in UK urology and prostate cancer care to look again at how the PSA blood test should be used. After reviewing the best evidence available, we agreed that the PSA blood test is safe and accurate, and that GPs should proactively give the most at-risk men the choice of whether to have one. We are now in an era where we know that harm from diagnostic or treatment interventions is significantly reduced with better supporting tests and treatment strategies. I fully support Prostate Cancer UK's call on the government to adapt NHS guidelines in line with the known risks. It's a clear and obvious approach that will give more men in every part of the UK a fair chance of an earlier diagnosis. This is particularly important in Scotland, where we know that prostate cancer diagnosis was badly hit by the pandemic, and where too many men continue to be diagnosed when the disease has already spread and become harder to treat. Amy Rylance, Assistant Director of Health Improvement at Prostate Cancer UK, said, "It's been clear for some time that NHS guidelines which prevent GPs from raising the subject of prostate cancer are dangerously outdated and deeply unfair to the men who face double the risk of getting the disease. Leaving men in the dark about their risk means too many men are getting diagnosed with incurable prostate cancer, and this disproportionately affects black men and men living in deprived areas." Now, the UK's leading urologists, clinicians and researchers are joining our call to change these rules and finally enable healthcare professionals to initiate life-saving conversations with the men at highest risk and give them a choice to have a simple, free PSA blood test. Prostate Cancer UK welcomes the new government's promises to increase earlier cancer diagnoses and address gross health inequalities. Our message to the government and MPs in the Commons is that we're here to help you deliver those promises. Updating NHS prostate cancer guidelines could drive forward significant progress in just a year and, crucially, would give men a fairer chance of living longer. That article was written by Mark McDougall. This is from the Herald Scotland on Thursday the 25th of July, from the news section. Monarchy's income to rise by £45 million to more than £130 million. This article is written by Josh Carmichael. The monarchy is to receive a boost of more than £45 million, with a 53% jump in its official annual income to more than £130 million. Profits from the Crown estate to £1.1 billion mean the taxpayer-funded sovereign grant, which supports the official duties of the royal family, will increase from £86.3 million in 2024-25 to £132 million in 2025-26. Officials said the increase will be used to help fund the final stages of the 10-year £369 million renovation of Buckingham Palace, keeping it on time and budget. The boost will be reviewed through legislation in 2026-27 to keep funding of the royal family at a more appropriate level, a palace spokesman said. A National Audit Office report on Tuesday revealed that the palace renovation has been well managed, but structural damage and the discovery of asbestos, which led to cost increases, could have been foreseen. Buckingham Palace's annual accounts, covering the first full financial year of the King's reign, were published on Wednesday after being delayed for a month because of the general election. The Sovereign Grant Report revealed the royal household will take delivery of 2 new helicopters in 2024-25 to replace the existing 15-year-old ones. The Augusta Westland AW139s are considered a key component in enabling the King and royal family to carry out their engagements, allowing access to remote areas of the UK, and they will replace the current Sikorsky helicopters. The King's State Bentleys are being converted to run on biofuel within the next year, with a view to switching to a fleet of official electric cars in the future, while solar panels have been introduced to Windsor Castle for the first time. Gas lanterns at Buckingham Palace, which were switched off during the recent energy crisis as a cost-saving measure, are being repurposed, with specially designed electrical fittings to improve their energy efficiency, while also preserving their historic look and glow. The sovereign grant is funded by the taxpayer in exchange for the King's surrender of the revenue from the Crown estate. Graham Smith of Republic, which campaigns for an elected head of state, said, "People rightly complain about the cost of the Rwanda scheme, yet we have spent more over the same period on the royals. Every year the official funding for the royals just keeps going up. Yet the sovereign grant is just a small part of the estimated £345 million or more the British people spend on the royals every year. Add the profits of the 2 duchies, which are state assets, the bloated security bill and costs met by local councils around the country, and the total bill is huge. By comparison, the Irish president costs around €4 million, a fraction of the cost for someone doing a similar job, but someone elected and accountable to do it." The rundown of royal finances from April 1, 2023 to March the 31st, 2024, covers the months following the King and the Princess of Wales's double cancer diagnosis, with both away from public-facing duties from January onwards. But the accounts also span a time of celebration, with coronation and festivities celebrating the crowning of the King and Queen in May last year. Sir Michael Stevens, Keeper of the Privy Purse, described the coronation as a glorious moment in our national story, but added, "If that was the high point in a royal calendar, that would contain many subsequent moments of significance on the public stage. Then there are also moments of personal challenge for the family at home, which have affected this year's report in a rather different way." In the early part of 2024 came the sad news that both His Majesty the King and the Princess of Wales would be withdrawing from public-facing duties temporarily to prioritise their treatment and recovery from cancer. This inevitably impacted on the number and nature of engagements that had been planned, though may I say how encouraging it is to see the King back performing so many public duties, and, more recently, the Princess similarly well enough to join the King's birthday parade and the men's Wimbledon final. There were more than 2,300 official engagements by members of the royal family in the UK and overseas, compared with more than 2,700 last year. The King undertook 464 official engagements, despite his cancer diagnosis, with the Queen carrying out 201, of which 103 were joint engagements. Sir Michael added, "Behind the scenes, the work of the royal household continued apace, even throughout the latter course of the financial year, with His Majesty still performing his full state duties, Her Majesty taking on a greater share of public engagements, and their support teams adapting swiftly to the changing circumstances." The number of guests at official residence, however, rose by 10% to more than 105,000, with over 400 events. The King and Kate received some 27,000 messages from well-wishers and 31,000 congratulatory messages for the coronation, amounting to 138,000 items of correspondence for the year 2023 to 24. Official travel costs for the monarchy rose marginally by 0.3 million, from £3.9 million to £4.2 million. The most expensive travel was the King and Queen's visit to Kenya by charter flight in October, along with a related separate staff planning visit by scheduled flights, which came to a total of £166,557. A 3-day state visit to France, with trips to Paris and Bordeaux by Charles and Camilla by charter flight in September, cost £117,942. Housekeeping and hospitality came in at £2.6 million, up from £2.4 million last year. But overall expenditure fell by 17%, or £18.4 million, from £107.5 million in 2022 to 23 to £89.1 million, with the palace putting the change mostly due to an anticipated decrease in expenditure on the palace renovation programme in 2023 to 24. The report also showed £600,000 from the sovereign grant was spent on the coronation and events surrounding it last year, with the total cost to the sovereign grant overall coming to £800,000. The figure covered internal costs such as staffing, palace receptions, plus any furnishings or costumes which be reused later on, including the readjusting of the imperial state crown and the King and Queen's coronation robes. Palace officials also confirmed the Duke and Duchess of Sussex's former home, Frogmore Cottage, remains empty and there are no new tenants. The funding of the monarchy was switched last year from 25% to 12% of the Crown Estate's net profits because of the rising income expected from the estate's new offshore wind deals. The King asked for the wind farm profits to be used for the wider public good. If the 25% formula had continued, the monarchy would have received £275 million instead in 2025 to 26. Despite the percentage reduction, Crown Estate financial figures published on Wednesday showed the profits in 2023 to 24 were £1.1 billion, meaning the sovereign grant, based on funds 2 years in arrears, will be £132 million in 2025 to 26, £45.7 million more than in 2024 to 25. With the new formula, £143 million will be redirected for the wider good of the nation. That article was written by Josh Carmichael.
The Herald on the 26th of July and the sports section. Andy Murray and Dan Evans draw Japanese pair in Olympics first round. Andy Murray will face Japanese opposition to start his final tennis tournament after confirming his withdrawal from the singles event at the Paris Olympics. The two-time gold medalist is still not fully recovered from the back surgery he had last month and believes the men's doubles, while he's playing with Dan Evans, offers his best chance for another medal. Murray said, "I've taken the decision to withdraw from the singles to concentrate on the doubles with Dan. Our practice has been great and we're playing well together. Really looking forward to getting started and representing GB one more time." Murray and Evans are both experienced doubles players, although not together, but they look like having a decent chance of progressing through the first round, at least after drawing Japanese pair Taro Daniel and Kai Nishikori. The day of the match will be revealed when the order of play is announced. Murray, who won gold in singles in London and Rio, as well as silver in mixed doubles with Laura Robertson in 2012, confirmed earlier this week that he will retire after the Olympics. Speaking at the draw ceremony at Roland Garros, the 37-year-old said, "The Olympics has been obviously incredibly special for me. I've had amazing memories on the court, especially in London. To win medals there was unbelievable. I'm really happy I get to do this one more time. It's unfortunate. I trained the last few weeks to try to get ready to play singles and doubles, but I'm getting a bit older now and it becomes harder to recover. I just ran out of time, but I'm happy to be in the doubles with Dan. We play well together and I hope we can have a good run." Novak Djokovic, chasing the one major honour he has not yet won, is the top seed in the men's singles in the absence of world number one Yannick Skinner, who withdrew on Wednesday with tonsillitis. And there could be a blockbuster sound round clash between the Serbian and the 14-time French Open champion Rafael Nadal after they were placed in the same section of the draw. Nadal, who skipped Wimbledon to continue training on clay after a first-round French Open defeat to Alexander Zverev, will surely privately be cursing his luck again. He said, "I'm always happy to be in this amazing city and, of course, this place. Roland Garros is, as everyone knows, the most special place for me in the world of tennis. I'm just excited to have the chance to be back here. This year, I was not able to spend a lot of time at Roland Garros. The Olympics is completely different, and I'm just trying to enjoy every moment." British number one Jack Draper takes on Nishikori, while Cameron Norrie is almost certain to find reigning French Open champion Carlos Alcaraz waiting if he can make it past Dutchman Talon Griekspoor in the first round. Evans is prioritising doubles, but he also entered the singles and will face Tunisian Mose Echargui. Katie Boulter is Britain's sole representative in the Wimbledon singles draw, and she will face Slovakian Anna Carolina Shmyldolova in the first round. The Herald on the 26th of July and the sports section. Bill to ban greyhound racing earns support with the writing on the wall by Mark McDougall. An MSP has said the writing is on the wall for greyhound racing after a bill introduced to ban the sport in Scotland gained enough support to proceed at Holyrood. Mid-Scotland and Fife Green MSP Mark Ruskell said his members' bill had won the backing of enough colleagues at the Scottish Parliament to allow it to be introduced. The bill aims to make it an offence to permit greyhounds to compete in races at tracks in Scotland. Data from 2023 showed 109 greyhounds died trackside in the United Kingdom, which was up from 2022, and a further 4,238 were injured last year. He said, "I'm delighted to have received the backing of MSPs from across the political spectrum and will be pushing ahead with my members' bill. I hope that the Scottish Parliament will unite behind my proposed legislation and take this chance to act and save the lives and limbs of countless greyhounds in the future. My bill aims to protect greyhounds from the many risks that come from being forced to race around tracks at high speed. With industry figures showing that the death rate is going up across the UK, it's time to take action. Public opinion is on our side, and I'm heartened by the support that my bill has received so far. I urge racecourse owners and the wider industry to listen hard and to stand up for Scotland's greyhounds by putting pause before profit and ending the races for good. You can tell a lot about society from how it treats voiceless animals. I believe that we are a nation of dog lovers, and that's why we need to ensure they are protected. The writing is on the wall for greyhound racing in Scotland. It's time for us to put the well-being of those wonderful dogs ahead of gambling company profits." And that was by Mark McDougall. The Herald on the 26th of July and the sports section. Kilmarnock 1, Circle Brugge 1. David Watson keeps tie alive by Gavin McCafferty. David Watson headed an equaliser to ensure Kilmarnock would travel to Belgium with everything to play for, following a 1-1 draw in the Circle Brugge in Europa League qualifying. Killie responded well after Kazim Olaigbe gave the visitors their lead early in the second half at Rugby Park, and Watson got the final touch as a long throw paid dividends on the 70th minute. The 19-year-old midfielder was not yet born when the Ayrshire side last played a competitive overseas game in 2001, and his intervention, coupled with a strong finish from the hosts, will give the 2,500 Killie fans who have tickets for next week's second leg every hope they can reach the third qualifying round. Kilmarnock's previous foray into Europe 5 years ago fell flat with a defeat by Connah's Key Nomads under Angelo Alessio, who had just taken over from Steve Clarke. The Scotland manager was back at Rugby Park to watch Dennis McInnes and his squad bid to cause an upset of their own against the seeded Belgians. Circle were playing their first European tie in 14 years, and only the fifth in their history after finishing fourth in the Belgian league last season. And away goals would win over Finnish side Turun Palloseria is their only triumph so far. McInnes played a three-man central midfield after striker Marley Watkins failed a late fitness test, while former Rangers goalkeeper Robbie McCrory was the only debutant in the starting lineup. Killie almost got off to a dream start when captain Kyle Vassell forced a decent stop after 10 seconds, but the visitors created the better chances in the first half. Olgaby shot over in the counter-attack, and McCrory made point-blank stops from Abdul Kader Urata and Jesper Dalland, although the latter save came after a poor attempt to punch clear a corner. Much of Killie's attacking threat normally comes from wide areas, but it took them until late in the half to get some testing balls in. Matty Kennedy's cross just evaded Brad Lyons, and Watson could not get enough purchase on a header following a long throw. Circle dominated the early stages of the second half and took the lead 10 minutes in. There was nothing complicated about the build-up. The visitors were first to a couple of second balls, following a hopeful ball forward, and Olgaby made space to sweep his finish home from 18 yards. McCrory soon saved well from Otara before the Killie fans were on their feet when Stuart Finlay headed home from close range. Kennedy's corner had gone behind the curling back in, though. Kelly continued to look dangerous from set pieces and levelled when the ball flashed in off Watson's head after Vassell had won Kennedy's long throw into the air. Vassell was unaware of his teammate's role as he celebrated, and he almost got the score sheet himself with a header which grazed the outside of the post. Substitute Fraser Murray twice came close in stoppage time with a powerful volley, which was well saved, and a curling free kick which looped on to the top of the net. The winners of the tie will face Molde or Silkeborg, with the Norwegians 3-1 up after the first leg. The losers will drop into the Conference League and could also be heading to Norway after Tromsø won 1-0 in Finland against Kupus. And that was by Gavin McGafferty. The Herald on the 26th of July and the sports section. Paris prepares for Olympics opening ceremony like no other. Paris is preparing for Olympics opening ceremony like no other on the River Seine on Friday night. But the action has already got underway in Paris with preliminary competitions taking place in sports including rugby, sevens, handball and archery. Here the PA news agency looks back at a day which the eagerly awaited games in the French capital began to creak into life. Carl Hester has signed a letter universally condemning the actions of dressage star and protégé Charlotte Dujardin. Three-time Olympic gold medalist Dujardin withdrew from the Olympics in Paris on Tuesday after a video emerged of her repeatedly hitting a student's horse with a whip from the ground during a coaching session. Hester is a signatory to a letter from the board members of the International Dressage Riders Club. Ireland were denied by a second-half fight-back as New Zealand emerged 14-12 winners in their rugby sevens Pool A decider at the Paris Olympics. First-half tries from Zach Ward and Jordan Conroy, plus a Mark Roche conversion, gave Ireland a shock 10-0 interval lead at the Stade de France. But New Zealand stormed back and Andrew Newstub's late conversion proved decisive. Teenage archer Megan Havers fired Team GB into Paris's 2024 Olympic action when she released her first arrow at the Esplanade des Invalides. Havers' fellow debutante Penny Henley and Tokyo 2020 veteran Bryony Pittman were the first Britons to compete at these games. The preliminary ranking round moved a day earlier, and its traditional opening day morning slot due to the venue's proximity to the River Seine opening ceremony. And quote of the day, I can officially say I'm an Olympian now, so that's really cool to say. I've got a lot more Olympics in me, I hope, as well. 16-year-old archer Megan Havers on getting Team GB's Paris 2024 quest underway. The Herald on the 26th of July and the sports section. Rangers sign Vaclav Kearney on loan from German side Wolfsburg by Ewan Payton. Rangers have officially confirmed the signing of Vaclav Kearney. The Czech Republic international has joined the Ibrox club on loan for the 2024-25 season. The Wolfsburg forward will spend the campaign playing for Philippe Kent in the Scottish Premiership. It's understood there is no obligation to buy the player as part of the agreement. On signing for Rangers, he said, "It's a very nice day for me, and I'm happy to be here, and I can't wait to get started. Obviously, from the first talks with the manager, it gave me very good feeling, and from there on, I would say it went pretty fast. I was happy about the contract, and I just couldn't wait to come down here and be here and experience it all." Clement commented, "I'm delighted to welcome Vaclav to the squad. He's an exciting player with valuable experience in European football. He's already shown his attacking qualities during his time at the Eredivisie and Wolfsburg, and he will further strengthen our attacking options in the squad. I feel as a club and staff we continue to help him as a player to reach new levels, and I am excited to see what the season holds for him at Rangers." Director of Football Recruitment, Nils Koppen, said, "Firstly, I would like to welcome Vaclav to Rangers, and I'm looking forward to seeing him as part of the squad. We have been working hard to bring in talented players with potential, and Vaclav is a winger who has proven contributions in top leagues in Europe. It is fantastic to have him join the squad here." And that was by Ewan Payton. The Herald on the 26th of July and the sports section. Why Motherwell fans should be excited by Stamatelopoulos by Graham McGarry. First, let's get some caveats out of the way. Yes, Motherwell spending money on a player doesn't always work out for the best. With the greatest of respect and apologies for sending shivers up your spine, we all remember the huge fee laid out for Sean McSkimming, for instance, and arguably the worst deal in the club's history. The cash plus Stevie Kirk and Paul McGrillen package that brought Eddie May to Fir Park. Shudder. And okay, the club's recent history of signing exciting players from the A-League hasn't exactly panned out as we had all hoped, with the much-hyped arrival of Rika Dansaki falling flatter than the launch of this season's rather Dundee United-esque warm-up kit. Still, it's hard not to be at least a wee bit excited about the impending arrival of striker Apostolos Stamatolopoulos after his 17 goals in 25 league matches for the Newcastle Jets last season. Just a note for Kitman Alan McDonald before I go any further. If you can ensure it is his nickname of Stammer that goes on the back of his shirt instead of his full surname, just in case he is a smash hit and my kids want their strips printed, that would be grand. Good man, Aldo. Don't have this trouble with Theo Blair. Anyway, now that Stammer looks like to be the man to be stepping into Blair's shoes, what can Motherwell supporters expect from the front man? Well, judging by the entirely non-scientific viewing of his YouTube highlights reel, it seems the forward has an array of finishes at his disposal. By digging into the numbers a little deeper through using Y-Scout, we can get a gauge on what type of player Motherwell are getting. I get that things like XG, expected goals, aren't for everyone, so I'll try not to get too nerdy here, but they can point to underlying trends, and in the case of Stamatolopoulos, these look encouraging. He scored 0.65 goals per 90 minutes, which is impressive, but perhaps what is even more encouraging is that he's outperformed his XG. With the chances he had in front of goal last season, he might have been reasonably expected to score 15 goals, but his total of 17 suggests not only that he is an accomplished finisher, but a consistent one too, and that he doesn't tend to waste too many chances. His ability in the air looks to be an asset too, winning 5.82 aerial duels per 90 minutes, and if you've seen his YouTube reel, you will see him attacking crosses aggressively. With the wing-back system that Stuart Kettlewell deploys, that will be a handy asset. I can't have been the only one tearing what is left of my hair out over some of the matches this pre-season, as the crosses have flashed across goal from Stephen O'Donnell and Ewan Wilson, with nobody there to tap them home, while Moses Eby managed to convert one such opportunity against Clyde. Hopefully Stamatolopoulos, yes, I'm copying and pasting his name now, will be able to make hay from these balls across goal more consistently. Many goal-scoring strikers don't tend to get involved in general play, but Stamatolopoulos not only averages amongst almost 4 touches per game in the opposition box and almost 3 shots per game, but he also averages 18 passes per 92, suggesting that there are more strings to his bow than sticking the ball into the onion bag. All of this might count for nothing when you can factor in the intangibles, of course, how he adapts to Scottish football, the culture, the weather, etc. But without the chance yet to see him in the flesh, there are at least plenty of reasons for encouragement ahead of his arrival on these shores. You can certainly see why the Motherwell scouting team have been attracted to him, and why the club have decided to quickly reinvent some of the Blair transfer fee in bringing him over to Scotland. Hopefully the theory that looked so solid behind the Dan Zaki transfer bears out a little more fruitfully in reality this time around. What this means for the makeup of the attack remains to be seen. I was impressed by Zach Robinson in the win over Clyde, despite him failing to find the net, while ironically Eby perhaps did his own chances of starting the season up top more harm by squandering a series of gilt-edged opportunities despite scoring the opener. It looks as though Stuart Kettlewell will be going with 2 up top, and given the club have paid a fee for Stamatolopoulos, it would appear to be him +1. Hopefully both Robinson and Eby are suitably fired up against Partick Thistle on Sunday to stake their claim for that position come the opening league game against Ross County next week. And that was by Graham McGarry.
From the Herald, Sunday the 28th of July, from the politics section. Labour accused Tories of covering up state of public finances. Article by Andrew Learmonth, political editor. The last UK government deliberately covered up the dire state of the public finances, a Labour minister has claimed. According to reports, Rachel Reeves will share details of a £20 billion black hole with MPs tomorrow. She will also move to delay a string of key hospital building and road schemes announced by Rishi Sunak's administration. It follows an audit of public spending ordered when she moved into number 11. However, the SNP has questioned the claims that the spending pressures are unexpected, saying they and others, including the Institute for Fiscal Studies, warned of the strain on the public purse during the election. They also pointed out that at the time Labour accused them of peddling mince. Speaking on Sky News Sunday with Trevor Phillips, the Environment Secretary, Steve Reid, insisted that despite the Office for Budget Responsibility, OBR, publishing data on public finances twice a year, the government was only now discovering just how catastrophic their inheritance is. Well, there are things outside of what the OBR are covering, he said. It's not only that we didn't know, the Prime Minister deliberately covered it up. They covered it up, the Minister added. He then pointed to the real cost of the Rwanda scheme. He said the Tories said they had spent £400 million to send 4 volunteers to Rwanda, but Labour say they have found out they actually spent £700 million. The Cabinet Minister added, "We want to get away from the politics of denial and cover up." One of the big surprises for the new government is that public sector pay deals are likely to cost a lot more than expected. Ms Rees is expected to confirm teachers and some 1.3 million NHS staff will be in line for a 5.5% pay boost, about £3.5 billion more than had been budgeted for. Economists believe this could rise to about £10 billion if other peer review bodies give similar advice on workforces, such as police and prison officers and doctors and dentists. Depending on how this is paid for, it could lead to more money for the Scottish Government, who would almost certainly look to use it to fund pay hikes for workers north of the border and see off looming industrial action. If the Chancellor borrows to fund the increase, there will be consequentials, but if Ms Rees simply moves money between departments, then there will be little additional cash for John Swinney. Ms Rees has set a set of self-imposed fiscal rules, including a commitment to have debt fall as a share of gross domestic product in 5 years' time. The IFS suggests that to pay for the wage rise, the Chancellor will need to tweak that rule or look at tax increases. Labour has ruled out lifting income tax, VAT, national insurance and corporation tax, potentially leaving changes to pensions relief and capital gains and inheritance levies on the table. Commenting, SNP economy spokesperson Dave Duggan said, "The SNP repeatedly warned the Labour Party that their fixation with copying damaging Tory spending plans and fiscal rules would mean around £18 billion of cuts or tax rises. Labour denied it throughout the election, but now they admit the cuts will be even deeper. Rachel Reeves is repeating the same failed austerity arguments made by former Tory Chancellor George Osborne. She must not break the Labour Party's election promise that there will be no cuts. Instead, she must deliver the major funding boost that the NHS and public services need." Speaking on BBC Scotland's The Sunday Show, Labour MP for East Renfrewshire, Blair McDougall, said there would be no return to austerity. "I think we've said in the election, and you'll see from Rachel being clear about where it is we're going to raise more money." He added, "I think Rachel deserves a lot of credit for trying to be honest with the public and saying exactly what the extent of the mess we've inherited is. People don't think that things are going to be easy. They accept that change is going to take time, but what they want to know is, what is the direction of travel and how are we going to get there, and the first step of that is about being honest." Mr McDougall was asked again to clarify whether there would be austerity under Labour. He said, "No. We are going to invest in public services. We're going to raise people's standards of living. That's our whole mission. IFS Director Paul Johnson said Labour knew to a large degree how bad things were with the public finances before entering government. The think tank boss said, "We, and many others, have made it very clear that it was going to be very hard to avoid cuts over the next few years, given the proposals made by the previous government. I've no doubt they have discovered some specific issues, and particularly about how tough things are this year, or immediately, which wouldn't have been quite so evident from the public pronouncements. So my guess is that that's what they're going to focus on Monday." And that report was written by political reporter Andrew Learmonth, and it was read by me, Ian McKenna. From the Herald Scotland, Sunday the 28th of July, news. Man in critical condition after late night Lanark bus assault, by Gabriel Mackay. A man is in a critical condition after a late night assault on a bus in Lanark. At around 11:10 p.m. on Friday, 26th of July, in the Thornton Road area, the man, 35, and a 15-year-old boy boarded a bus and were seriously assaulted. The latter was released from hospital after receiving treatment, but the older man remains in critical condition. Police are appealing to the public to chase a man who may be able to assist with an investigation. He is described as white, aged 18 to 25, wearing black shorts, a two-tone hooded jacket with a grey upper half and black lower half, a black baseball cap. He boarded the bus at Abbey Green, near to New Trowse Road, Lesmahago, and exited the bus on Vere Road, near to Straven Road in Kirkmuir Hill, where he was last seen. Detective Chief Inspector Susie Cairns said, "Our inquiries are ongoing to establish the full circumstances of what happened, and we are appealing for help. Anyone who was in the area at the time and saw what happened is asked to get in touch. We are also asking people to check their CCTV and, if they have captured anything that could assist with their investigation, then to please make contact with officers. Anyone who can help is asked to contact Police Scotland on 101, quoting incident number 4517 of Friday, 26th of July 2024, or make a call anonymously to Crime Stoppers on 0800 555 111. And that article was by Gabriel Mackay. From the Herald Scotland, Sunday the 28th of July, from the news section, exclusive. Running a hospice changes the way you think about life. Article by Helen McCardle, health correspondent. It does change the way you think about life, says Irene McVie. The 66-year-old is reflecting on 18 years as chief executive of Scotland's largest independent hospice, Strathcarron, as she prepares to retire on July 31st. Spending your working life trying to help terminally ill people get the most out of their final months makes you wonder why so many of us waste time putting things off when we are well, adds Ms McVie. She said, "We keep telling people to live the best life they can when they know they're dying, and it makes you think, well, why would you wait until you're dying? Just go for it." I said that once at a Rotary Club meeting and they were like, "Well, you still need a retirement fund?" And I was like, "No, I don't mean blow all your money next week. But don't assume you can do it in 10 years' time. If your life ambition has always been to go somewhere in particular, how long can you afford to leave that? Because when you're dying you have lots of bereavements. Gradually there's less and less you're fit to do. We help people make the most of what they can do, but you might still be having to compromise on things that, if you were fit, you wouldn't have to compromise on." Ms McVie, who moved from Gloucestershire to Scotland with her Scottish parents when she was 11, every childhood holiday was spent in Saltcoats, swapped a career in NHS management to take over the running of the Falkirk-based hospice in September 2006. It means she is unusually well placed to understand what she describes as the cynicism of NHS executives, beholden to a bottom line, and the best way to wring extra funds out of them, namely by proposing initiatives designed to save the health service money as well as improving the patient experience. This was at the heart of one of the biggest changes she spearheaded with the creation of Strathcairn's trailblazing hospice at home service in August 2014. The inspiration came after Ms McVie attended a series of meetings in London as the then Scottish representative in the Advisory Council to Hospice UK, a body representing some 200 hospices UK-wide. Ms McVie was intrigued by developments in England at the time where a number of providers were starting to run hospice at home service, enabling patients at the very end of life to get round-the-clock palliative care nurse care, equivalent to that available in a hospice, while remaining at home. The model had originated in the United States, where it was credited with cutting healthcare costs, and Ms McVie wondered why nothing equivalent was being offered in Scotland. It just seemed so self-evidently logical that you should be able to do that, she said. A lot of people are really terrified of looking after someone at home at the very end of life. That's really pretty scary. So I came back and I spoke to our director of nursing, and it just seemed obvious we ought to think about it. For the first 5 years, the scheme was fully funded by the Big Lottery, the charitable arm of the National Lottery responsible for supporting good causes, which also paid £20,000 for an external evaluation. The analyses found that hospice at home reduced the number of days a dying person spent in hospital in the final 2 weeks of their life by an average of 6, compared to people dying from the same conditions across Forth Valley without hospice at home support. It also cut A&E attendances and ambulance call-outs. At a time when demand for hospital beds is far outstripping supply, the advantage of hospice at home was it could free up beds in the NHS for other patients. Today, the service costs Strathcairn £650,000 annually, with its team of nurses supporting roughly 500 patients a year to spend their final days at home. Despite its success, budget constraints have made it difficult to extract as much financial support from the NHS as Ms McVie would like. She said, "The difficulty now is that we straddle several integrated joint boards, so you need them all to agree to fund it, otherwise you would do it in the Falkirk area but not Stirling. Last year, we asked for 50% of the running costs, but we got £96,000 on a non-recurring basis, which isn't a lot for the number of days it's saving. It's really frustrating because at one point when I was talking to the medical director, they were saying, well, we're not sure if we can afford it. And I said, well, do you want us to stop running the service? He was like, point taken, Irene. They don't want us to stop running the service because where are all these people going to go? And what are they going to get? Strathcairn began life as a brainchild of Dr. Harold Leon, a palliative care expert who envisioned creating a space where dying patients could enjoy a friendly and relaxed environment with good symptom control, reduced anxiety, and openness between patient, family and staff. In 1978, he and friends purchased the hospice house in Denny for £55,000 and embarked on a £247,000 renovation, all funded by donations, to convert the former dining and billiards room into a 12-bedded inpatient unit. In April 1981, it admitted its first patients and has since expanded to accommodate up to 24 patients while attracting exceptional graders from inspectors. In addition to its hospice at home service, Strathcairn employs dozens of community clinical nurse specialists who are collectively supporting around 350 people at any one time to manage their conditions at home. Overall, the service, which is free to users, now costs £12 million a year, 2/3 of which comes from fundraising and the rest from the NHS. Demand has soared. Referrals increased 32% between 2017 and 2022 alone as the baby boomer generation hit their 70s, increasing the probability of developing illnesses such as cancer. The increase in running costs, up from £9.12 million a few years ago, is also being driven by the pressure to compete with NHS salaries, following 2 successive pay rises of 7.5% and 6.5%, which have pushed the wage bill up to £500,000 a month. It means we haven't had a problem recruiting, but it's an uphill struggle, said Miss McVie. Last year we just broke even, but that was because we had a really good year of legacies. You cross your fingers and hope for the best. The complexity of patients has also changed dramatically during her 2 decades as CEO. People are also living longer. In the past, there would be people here only because they had cancer or a neurological condition. Now they have cancer and a heart condition and arthritis and diabetes and many undiagnosed dementia. It would be unusual to have someone with just one thing wrong with them. As well as cancers, Strathcarron is increasingly applying its palliative care expertise to support people at the end of their lives with chronic or neurological conditions such as Parkinson's, motor neuron disease, COPD, heart failure or kidney failure. Ms McVie is keen to stress that an administration into its hospice is not necessarily a one-way route. If you tell people anything, tell them that people get discharged from the hospice, she said. So many people are scared to come in because they think they won't get back out, but actually, that means they're tolerating symptoms that we can effectively treat. We can MOT them and get them back out there with their symptoms under control so that they can make much more of their life they have experiencing the pain, nausea, dizziness or whatever it was they came in with. That's what she will remember most as she prepares to bid farewell to Strathcarron on Wednesday. Ms McVie recalls a comment by a nurse who left the hospice for a new job in England some years ago. She said, "It sounds weird, but she was talking about how wonderful she found the hospice, and she used this expression. She was talking about the relatives of the people who died. She said, 'We see people at their most magnificent.' I thought that was an extraordinary phrase. But actually, all these relatives and friends of people who are dying, they do rise to the occasion. It is magnificent." And that report was an exclusive by Helen McCardle.
The Herald, Monday the 29th of July, from the news section. Residents angered by one green bin policy, union claims. Waste workers are getting verbally attacked by angry residents over Glasgow's new one green bin policy, a trade union has claimed. This summer, the City Council introduced new rules, which means each household is allowed one green bin for non-recyclable waste, and residents will be provided with a sticker to attach to their green bin to allow it to be emptied in future. The local authority says it costs more to dispose of waste than to recycle it and is providing additional recycling bins. But GMB convener Chris Mitchell says his members are facing public backlash from irate customers for only emptying one green bin every 3 weeks. Chris Mitchell said, "The one green bin policy started about a month ago. We understand that the council are trying to do, but it is causing grief for our members, as members of the public are challenging them for not emptying more than one green bin. There have been 3 instances of abusive attacks, as larger families feel they cannot cope with the one green bin policy, which is emptied every 3 weeks. This is being rolled out across the city in stages, as the council introduces more recycling bins, but it is causing friction everywhere. There's got to be a clear line of communication between the workers and the public on the scheme, what is happening and what benefits of it are. Glasgow is introducing a new grey bin scheme, which will take around 12 months to complete, to recycle plastics, metals, cartons, soft plastics and film. Cleansing workers are being tasked with putting a sticker on one green bin for each property so they know which bins to uplift. For around 4 weeks after the new bin is delivered, the council will empty all green bins put out for collection, even if they do not have a sticker. Any green bins put out for collection without a sticker after this amnesty period will not be emptied. A cleansing worker who does not wish to be named said, "I am one of the workers that is being tasked with putting stickers on the green bins and informing the public of the new ways of work. What we are coming up against is the public are absolutely irate and telling us they have not had any communication about this and have got too much rubbish in their bins. We are getting threatened and you just don't know what is going to happen. In the morning, people have a lot on and just see us as a target. I don't think I should be put in this position and the council should have engaged better with the public." A Glasgow City Council spokesperson said, "Sadly, Verbal attacks on council's frontline staff are not unusual, and this is why they receive training in how to deal with such situations. Staff are working to help people, so these attacks are senseless. The single green bin policy will help to manage and recycle waste more effectively, as more space for recycling space is provided. Under new regulations introduced by the local authority late last year, residents now have to pay £50 per year to have garden waste collected from bins on the curbside. The new rules were introduced from October the 1st, replacing a service which had been covered by council tax. Glasgow City Council has said that those using brown bins for garden waste have been subsidised and those who do not, but the change in policy has not gone down well with taxpayers. Bins with garden waste and no permit stopped being collected from the start of November. That was an article by Martha Vaughan.
From the Herald Scotland, Monday the 29th of July, from the Arts and Entertainment section. These are 5 of the most talked about stand-up shows at the Fringe. An article taken from the Herald magazine, first published on Sunday the 28th of July. Anna Akana. Suicide, stalkers, fathers abandoning their families and heading off into the war in Ukraine. Despite the heavy subject matter, Fringe first-timer Anna Akana's show It Gets Darker manages to leave audiences feeling energised and hopeful. It's less a dwelling on death than it is a celebration of life. Akana is most known for her YouTube channel, where she creates comedic mental health content, and her stand-up is no different. She weaves in sharp educational insights with absurdist humour. Did you know that suicide is the leading cause of death for Asian American teens? We must stop that. It's her target demo. Her follower count is dropping, but not if she can spread her message in time. The show, though funny forward, provides audiences with tools to talk about suicide, advice on dealing with auditory hallucinations, and how to haggle with funeral directors when the price of caskets has shot up. True to its name, It Gets Darker continues to dive deeper into taboo topics as it goes on, but always with a refreshing, hopeful lens. At the end, Akana reveals what remains of her sister Christina, who committed suicide in 2007. Perhaps Christina is also making her own Fringe debut. Anna Akana's debut show, It Gets Darker, is at the Pleasance Courtyard, upstairs at 5:30pm. For tickets, go to www.edfringe.com. Finlay Christie. I Deserve This is an affectionate takedown of Gen Z's victim complex, from a reverent attitude to trauma to her avoidance of blame for climate change. It also covers Finlay's bizarre quest for cultural validation. Feeling like an outsider at school led him to become obsessed with UK grime rapper JME, study Caribbean dance at university, and only date girls from stricter religious families. He tells the story of how his first girlfriend's parents captured an intimate act on surveillance cameras, and he never saw her again. He also explains how loneliness eventually turned him self-destructive and caused struggles with addiction. He performed the only stand-up routine he wrote during this lowest point, which is arguably his finest. The material is honest, thought-provoking, and doesn't shy away from sensitive topics, but it's also punchline heavy, having been honed in front of drunk idiots across the country. If you like your Edinburgh shows with narrative and meaning, but also love jokey jokes and layered routines, this is a show for you. Finlay Christie's new stand-up show, I Deserve This, is at the Monkey Barrel 4 at 10:40pm until the 25th of August. For tickets, go to www.edfringe.com. That's www.edfringe.com. Hammersmith. MC Hammersmith is an award-winning freestyle rap comedian. Hailing from the ghetto of middle-class West London, his show is an hour of entirely improvised hip-hop comedy. Every word and rhyme is completely made up on the spot based on audience suggestions. You'll leave astounded at the speed of his brain, the spontaneity of his punchlines, and the stability of his upbringing. Jaw-dropping, hilarious, utterly unbelievable. This year's show features interactive technology, live looping, auto-tuning, and more musical chaos. There will be brand new, never-before-seen routines, along with classic freestyle rap bangers. He will also be catering to a more mature crowd than previous fringes, as this year he remembered to make the age rating a 16+ restriction, not recommendation. This will hopefully prevent the 11-year-olds who've seen him on TikTok coming to his gigs. MC Hammersmith has supported Jason Manford and John Bishop on tour, has racked up an astonishing 100 million views online, and is known across Edinburgh as a standout fringe favourite. MC Hammersmith's new comedy show, the MC stands for Middle Class, is at the Monkey Barrel 1 at 1:50pm. For tickets, go to www.edfringe.com. Ali Woods. Ali Woods, at the moment, is a funny show for anyone finding it hard to be themselves. A lot of it is about love, disgusting, but thankfully there are a lot of dick jokes as well, including the hilarious and true story of how Ali lost his virginity to the NHS. Like previous Ali Woods shows, it's a mix of silly and sweet, telling the story of how being in a relationship for the first time has helped him to finally be himself. In other words, Ali stopped trying and has become a worse person. Since his last show, Ali has featured on Comedy Central Live, ITV2's stand-up sketch show, finished a sellout European tour and recorded his first special at a sold-out Leicester Square Theatre. If you're a fan of his relatable online sketches, then you'll find lots to love in this ludicrous show about being emotionally stunted. Featuring period adverts, the undateables, and how curries are a turn-on, there's something for everyone. His last two shows at the Fringe have sold out completely. Ali Wood's new stand-up show, at the moment, is at the Underbelly, Jersey Room at 8:30pm. For tickets, go to www.edfringe.com. Alexis Gay. Hey, do you have a minute? Bad from your boyfriend, but worse from your boss. From tech employee turned comedian Alexis Gay, Unprofessional is a comedy debut about working, or not working, in tech, and one specific 4pm meeting at a company we'll call Redacted. What sets Alexis apart from other social media stars is her live stage presence. A natural born performer, Alexis' acting and comedy chops are fully on display in Unprofessional. The show is packed with laughs, but is not without its tender, thoughtful moments, navigated with ease by a credible yet refreshing performer. You'd never guess Alexis spent 7 years behind a laptop staring at spreadsheets. Alexis's viral sketch comedy videos have been viewed over 24 million times, attracting a loyal following of over 150,000 people. Following her explosive online growth in 2020, Alexis quit her tech job to make sketch videos, launch a podcast, and perform stand-up comedy full-time. Unprofessional explores making work your entire personality, going nowhere on the hedonic treadmill, and worrying so much about your LinkedIn profile that it lands you at the hair doctor. Following sold-out premieres in San Francisco and New York, Alexis Gay's debut stand-up show Unprofessional is at the Underbelly, George Square, Wee Coo, at 4:20pm. For tickets, go to www.edfringe.com. And that article was taken from the Sunday Herald magazine, and it was read by me, Ian McKenna.
This is from the Herald Scotland of Wednesday the 31st of July 2024 from the business section. Historic restaurant in picture postcard location for sale. This article is by Brian Donnelly. An historic restaurant in a charming Scottish village has been put on the market for sale. Cornerstone business agents said the Eat on the Green restaurant occupies a coaching inn site dating back 200 years. Offered in exceptional walk-in condition for an ambitious chef and motivated buyer, Cornerstone said. Visitors are charmed by the local hostelry, beautiful cottages and a church forming an enclosed square around a village green. The property and business have been well invested in by our clients and offer an attractive business opportunity in a sought-after rural Aberdeenshire village. The business offers a stylish and bespoke bar and a sumptuous dining room to include a private chef's table. The agent also said there is an outstanding external gin bar located in a delightful secret garden outdoor trading space. The premises have been run by the current owner for 20 years, specialising as a high-quality restaurant destination. The Udney business benefits from a sought-after affluent locale drawing custom from locals, the outlying area, as well as Aberdeen City and the neighbouring high-quality hotel offerings. The subjects consist of a well-proportioned, fully detached property occupying a picture postcard location in the centre of this charming village, Cornerstone also said. One of the most attractive aspects of the business is the high-quality, unique outside trading areas to accompany the business. These areas consist of a secret garden to include a beautifully fully enclosed gin bar, an extensive beer garden and patio to include a fully covered marquee for 55. Additionally, there is also a private off-street car park, garage, shed, as well as former outhouse property. Udney Green is a unique village offering a picture postcard charm reminiscent of a Cotswold-style English village. Cornerstone business agent said the Eat on the Green restaurant is offered at a guide price of £475,000. That article was by Brian Donnelly. This is from the Herald Scotland of Wednesday the 31st of July 2024 from the business section. Iron brew maker hails Euro 24 Manshaft ad campaign a success. This article is by Brian Donnelly. A famous Scottish soft drinks maker has hailed a major advertising campaign in the first update to the city under its new chief executive. Cumbernauld-based iron brew manufacturer AG Bar said a new advert for the drink linked to the Scotland men's football team qualifying for the Euro 2024 tournament had been highly successful. The drinks maker named Ewan Sutherland as its new chief executive and confirmed the departure date for the outgoing Roger White earlier this year, and the firm said this is the first update with him in position. Former Superdry and Co-op chief Mr. Sutherland took over in May. The firm reported a growth in volume and value supported by a highly successful Euros media campaign for Iron Brew. The company said sales of its soft drinks increased by around 7% this year. It expects to report total sales of about £221 million for the 6 months to the end of July, 5% higher than the prior year. AG Bar said that sales of Iron Brew, the sparkling soft drink launched in Scotland more than a century ago, were higher in terms of both value and volume, meaning it sold more than a year ago. It also said growing demand for Iron Brew among English customers has helped boost sales for owner AG Bar. Rubicon also enjoyed double-digit percentage sales growth, which was helped by increased spending on marketing campaigns. Mr. Sutherland said the group's 4 power brands, which also include sports drink Boost and pre-mixed cocktail brand Funkin, had clear paths to long-term growth. Funkin sales were impacted by issues including can production and pressures in the hospitality sector, which has particularly squeezed clubs and bars. Mr. Sutherland said, "I am pleased to report overall H1 revenue growth of around 5%, with soft drinks growth of around 7% against strong prior year comparatives. The strategic margin rebuild programs are on plan. Guidance on revenue and margin remains unchanged, and we are on track to meet full-year expectations. Our 4 power brands, Iron Brew, Rubicon, Boost and Funkin, have clear paths to long-term growth, supported by strong innovation programs across all of our portfolio and opportunities to work even more closely to add value to our customers in all channels. We continue to invest in our supply chain, which will deliver tangible benefits as we insource more of our volume, build capacity to support our growth plans, improve resilience, and enhance our margins. We have a clear and focused UK-based growth strategy with simple KPIs of net revenue, operating margin, and ROS. Looking ahead, AG Bar said it was expecting revenues to grow further. The drinks firm earlier this year unveiled plans to cut almost 200 jobs as part of the closure of direct sales operations at 3 sites across the UK. It affected its sites in Moston, Greater Manchester, Wednesbury near Birmingham, and Dagenham, Greater London. The firm said that the bar direct route to market closed at the end of June with no impact to customer service. It added, symbol and independent retailers are now fully serviced through the wholesale channel, supported by a larger field sales team. The integration of Boost into bar soft drinks is on track and will be completed in H2. Manufacturing synergies continue to be realized as production is insourced. As previously stated, these 2 projects are expected to give rise to a one-off cost of around £5 million in the 2024-25 financial year, the majority of which will be incurred in H1. It added that Jonathan Kemp, Commercial Director, will retire later in the year, and Dino Labate has been appointed to the role. Analysts Shore Capital said, AG Bar, the owner and manufacturer of a number of the UK's leading soft drinks brands, has issued what to us is a good trading update for the 26 weeks ended 27th of July 2024. Trading has been strong, despite the lack of spring-summer weather, with group revenue of around 5%, including around 7% growth in soft drinks and the Boost-driven margin rebuild on plan. Shares in AG Bar closed up 2.22% or 14 pence at 644 pence. That article was by Brian Donnelly.
That concludes this week's edition of the Herald Scotland podcast. Please remember to subscribe to our channels, review, and to tell your friends about our service.